checked the client out with shortwave UV light for these indelible alien-related dyes that are left behind on the body, at least usually left behind on the body after recent alien contact. If the person has some of those dyes, then they've most likely had alien contact within the past 6 weeks or so.
I woke up and I'm in this metal rectangular room. Very shiny metal everywhere. Next thing you know, everything goes black and I'm on a conveyor belt. The sprayer starts at the top of my head and goes all the way down my face and stops at my neck, and I go completely back out.
This is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe, and this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens, and all things weird. Dude, we got a pretty sweet little setup this evening, right?
Welcome.
How's it going, guys? I mean, we got
a panel.
we got Steve Colburn, we got Barbara Jean, we got Eric Mitchell, and you know what? I've never learned your last name, Heidi.
Oh, that's because I'm so mysterious.
I like it better that way, I think, to be honest. Heidi for Fighty is what we're gonna call you.
My last
Heidi.
name is Gadd. Like, you
That's
know.
right.
I knew that.
I knew that too. Thank you for repeating it. Anyways, guys, you two, I know that y'all got to leave a little bit early. Thank you so much for just hanging out with us, coming to say hi. Man, it's been so long since we've seen you, Barbara. This is great.
We just love you so much.
Yes,
it's just so
yes.
good to be here.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, this is going back to that, like we were talking about earlier, that conference in San Francisco, 2020.
Lorians.
Dude, that's where we met everybody.
Yeah.
And that was it was our second conference that we went to, right? The first one was in Phoenix.
Yep.
When they were doing that, and we were like,
That's
is
where
pretty
we
cool.
met Jocelyn and Lorian, and then they invited us to Lorian's, and then we met all you guys.
And that's when it really kicked off. Yeah.
Did I ever check you guys for implants at the booth?
You didn't check us for implants at the booth, but we might have to make that happen sometime.
Yeah, I think so.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
I've been kind of afraid to ask, but dude, I do have this little piece in my jaw that I've always
really?
wanted to get an X-ray of.
The jaw is a possible location for implants.
Don't tell me that, Steve. No.
Yeah.
It's right here. It's like this tiny little glob. Well, we'll have to. Well, maybe we'll get into it. But.
Oh, we'll check it out sometime.
I feel that
so.
way about the back of my head. Sometimes I feel it, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And I'm like, well, it's not a pimple or nothing, but that little,
Does it move around?
you know, it's like sometimes I can feel it, and sometimes I can't. So
That's a possible location for moving
is.
implants.
very interesting.
Yeah.
I have
Very
a
interesting.
seed back there too, and back in the back of my ear, the same place.
Really?
If I touch it, it kind of moves a little bit. And Steve's going to check it out for me. I haven't ever had it checked out. So
Wow.
you should check yours out.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. So what's like we saw you doing stuff, but what is your process like?
We'll have a protocol. It's basically Dr. Lear's protocol, but with like one or two things added in. I checked the client out with UV light, shortwave UV light for these indelible alien-related dyes that are left behind on the body, at least usually left behind on the body after recent alien contact. And there's several different colors. The most common colors are blue, yellow-green, and orange fluorescence. And if the person has some of those dyes, then they've most likely had alien contact within the past 6 weeks or so.
Wow.
And then I asked the client about any areas of concern that might have implants, and checked those out with a stud finder, a small metal detector that detects conductive objects into the skin. And if you get a stud finder hit, then you go over those areas with a Gauss meter. And if you get an area that has a stud finder and a Gauss meter hit, that's most certainly or almost certainly an implant. And the next step is to have the person go to a doctor's office and have it x-rayed. So that's the final confirmation to see metallic objects on an x-ray. And I also check for radio signal emissions and traces of radioactive material that are sometimes left behind in the body during a UFO experience.
Very interesting. So maybe you can confirm this, but I've heard I've heard a couple things on like some of the implants, obviously like the little metal pieces or whatever. I've also heard of some of these implants people have been finding are more like organic material, but they're still acting the same way as the metal.
Yeah, Dr. Luke told me about one biological implant that a stewardess had underneath the forearm of her, the skin of her forearm, and it would move around and follow your finger. Very bizarre, but it would only move in a circumscribed area.
Wow.
And he took it out, and it was kind of like a clam or a bivalve. It was about the size of a small pea, about that big, and had a slit in the middle and some ridges on the outside. And it would apparently move around by going like this into the skin, and the ridges would catch on the underside of the skin.
Wait, it was alive?
Apparently, yeah, it was alive.
Wow. What?
He said the cellular structure was different than human. The cells were a lot smaller than normal mammalian cells. And it didn't live very long outside the body and just kind of degraded. They didn't get much analysis out of that one, but it was enough to know that there are alien biological implants too.
Wow. Do you think that's something that's common and it's just kind of a newer discovery, or do you think maybe that's like them advancing?
It's not real common, but these are old technological devices to the aliens, I'm pretty sure, but they're common among frequent flyer or Class 2 experiencers.
Wow.
Just about all Class 2 experiencers, people that have a lot of alien contact that I've examined, have implants or indications of such.
I like the way you say frequent flyer. That's amazing. Have you coined that, or did you just come up with it?
Usually people that are what I call Class 2 experiencers that are part of the alien program get taken at least twice a month.
Eric, I think you might be a frequent flyer, dude.
Yeah.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, the memories I have that seem like dreams, you wake up with evidence, or you wake up outside, or you wake up naked in a ball field or something like that. So, yeah, I'm not one of those reluctant people that remember everything. And I think Steve and I determined that they're definitely making sure I stay out. As far as...
Yeah, it's very rare to remember everything. Only a handful of people that I've ever heard of remember a large percentage, but most people remember, if they're going to remember anything at all, remember bits and pieces, like the beginning and the end of an abduction. And sometimes people will recall stuff that the aliens have told them, where they have this information and they don't know how they got it, and that's almost certainly the avenue where they got it.
So that kind of leads me to the Soul event, which you were at the Soul event, right? As well, or the Soul conference,
San Francisco trip.
Oh yeah.
So we haven't talked about. Have we talked about this on our show yet?
I don't think so.
So since both of y'all are there, and Heidi, you were there too. Were you?
I was. Yeah. Like we talked about it on our show.
Do we want to be really honest about that trip?
Yes. How many still reserved?
Well,
it's up to you guys.
I'll let you
it's up to you.
It's up to you guys.
Well, I've got a invitation. A friend of mine put in for an invitation it's invitation only. Yes, we are going that far.
I can tell this is going to be good.
It was invitation only. I was told by a PhD colleague and friend of mine that we would both have an invitation to get in. I had just...
Well, they flew us out. The university flew us out.
No, that was Charles Crawford.
Well, yeah, but it was the grant from the university.
University of Ohio, yeah.
So we were flown out there
Dang.
to go to this and flights, room, whole thing.
So I kept checking. Is my invitation there yet? And they're like, no, you'll get it by email. So I would go to another PhD that I've worked with. And I'm like, I know you're there. Can you get me, they're already flying us here. We've got to go to the conference. And so I think about 12 people in, I start to get a little concerned. Like, why am I not allowed to to go to this conference. Like, there's probably 50 PhDs I've given information to and helped, with their studies. And so the Sunday night before I flew out, I had a dream that I woke up and I'm in this metal rectangular room, very shiny metal everywhere. And in front of me is a bench going all the way across the floor. And above that is a big window, and all you can see is space. Over here, there's two ladies that are completely out of it, sitting on the bench. And they're fully clothed, and you could tell they're from Indonesia. I know my Asians, and they're Indonesian women. And over here is a man who's about 250 pounds, bald guy, seemed really upset. He seemed really upset, and he was screaming at me. And I'm kind of out of it in this dream. He's saying, we're in space. How the hell did we get in space? Why won't you listen to me? And he's screaming at me. And I'm starting to realize that I'm coming to. This isn't a dream. And so I take my mind that way, because there is a craft through that metal wall. I know there is, and that would take a long story. But I got pissed off immediately, and I wanted to crash that thing. What am I doing? I'm taking that thing down. Next thing you know, everything goes black, and I'm on a conveyor belt where it's just a sprayer, starts at the top of my head and goes all the way down my face and stops at my neck, and I go completely back out. Wake up the next morning. It was just a dream. I got to fly to the Soul Conference and hang out, Charles Crawford, our friend now, and colleague, he was going to meet us out there. He asked me to do some psionics for him, work, and wanted math on advanced propulsion and energy. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like, no one's ever taught me how to do something like that. I don't know how. I told him, look, I'll meditate. I'll see if something comes through. Anything comes through, I'll write it down and I'll send it to you. That's the best I can do, but don't hope for the best. I don't know how to do that stuff. So about a week in, I saw these guys. I have an Arkansas education. Okay, Arkansas education, and very little at that. So
pretty good school up there, huh?
When it comes to advanced math, I do grocery store math, and I forget to add the tax. I mean, that's me. So I saw these upside down triangles and squiggly lines and an E and an S and all these things that are familiar, but not to me, in totality. So I sat up, I wrote it all down in my notebook, and I thought about it for about 3 days. Like, this doesn't look like anything, that would be physics or anything like that. So I'm deciding whether I'm going to show him that and make myself look like an idiot because, or just, let him have it and have him laugh at me and go about my merry way. Well, he lost it. He was like, oh my God. He said, I ran this through ChatGPT. I don't get into any of those things.
I did too. ChatGPT.
Yeah. There was nothing like that online or in history of this type of mathematics that he could find. So he went to colleagues, and then he printed up hundreds of copies and brought it to the Soul Conference because, and you'll see why I like to work with this guy. He didn't want to squander it. He was literally passing it out to every smart person that would look. So that's why, I love
That's
Charles.
kind of cool. So at the conference, he was handing
them out.
Oh, wow.
So when we all showed up, Charles had his invitation, and I'm still like, where's my email? The conference is starting and all that stuff. You wanna just kind of jump in there?
It's free form.
Yeah, and so I wasn't getting my email either. But one thing I wanted to, when you were talking about your dream, the next, Eric and I, we talk a lot. We had our YouTube show that I got exterminated from YouTube, whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
Such a bummer.
So weird.
But he called me that next morning. He was like, Heidi, I had this dream. Da, da, da. I'm like, are you sure it was a dream, bro? But then that Thursday, you flew in the night. I was flying in Friday morning. And that's when Steve scanned Eric.
Oh,
with
At the Soul
UV
Conference,
light,
right?
At the Soul, at the hotel room.
So Steve, you had a station set up as a vendor. You were there part of
Well, at the incident he's talking about, I just had my UV light and scanned him with UV light and found out that half his head was covered by the blue dye. And it's totally invisible in room light, so I just on a lark, I decided to scan him with the UV light, and that showed up.
And so that couldn't be sweat or like.
No, it's indelible. It won't wash off. A guy in Dr. Lou's program, Mr. Ron Noel, patient 16, I decided to scan him with UV light before his surgery to remove an implant from his wrist, and he thought he hadn't been abducted in years, and it turned out he had a big alien symbol on his arm. And he was all freaked out and tried to wash it off and took 3 showers and scrubbed himself real hard, and it wouldn't come off.
Whoa.
These dyes are extremely tenacious. They bond very well to organic matter, especially the skin. And it's interesting what Eric said before about having a memory of being on a craft, because it seems like a lot of these abductions take place aboard gray motherships in orbit. Pretty much all experiencers that list all Class 2 experiencers have been in space before. At least that's what my research has uncovered.
So Heidi's just showing us a photo. Will you send that to me?
Yeah, we'll put it in the edit.
And
Oh my God. Oh, you took video too?
Or it's actually Steve and Barbara's video.
Oh, that's your whole face, dude.
My whole face.
What the?
Just how I remembered getting sprayed all the way down
That
my
is
face.
you remember that?
Wild.
I remember it.
Wow.
You know, you remember the older paper towel holders where it's got the cylinder white movable plastic part that helps dispense
Yeah.
the paper towel? That's what it kind of reminded me of. It was just circulating and spraying in my face.
Okay.
And that's the last thing I remember, and I went completely out.
So you remember specifically like the delivery device and how it, like the mechanism of.
I couldn't move. It's the only thing I could stare at, so...
No. Do you remember seeing, looking out the window and seeing the Earth, or knowing you were in space?
I just saw stars. I would have been happy to see. Actually, I wouldn't have been happy to see the Earth. That would have freaked me out, or the moon. But I just saw stars, and it seemed to be like a holding separate area or thing. There was just 4 random people in there, including myself, and I never get enough information, I hear people all the time talk about, they're just walking around the craft all night, having a great time, but
Yeah. Well, they're pretty nice on board. That's what I remember.
I tend to get upset and
Hey, Eric, can you put the microphone on?
But the U.S. government apparently discovered these things back in the 50s. They recruited Clyde Tombaugh, the discoverer of Pluto, to investigate some radar sightings they had about orbiting about 500 miles up. And I strongly believe that those were the gray motherships. They were talking about them being small moons at one point, and I think they hang out at that altitude because that's in the Earth's Van Allen radiation belts, and they're not going to be bothered by human-made spacecraft at that altitude.
Yeah.
Would you see, would you be able to see that?
I'm sorry?
Would you be able to see an object at 500?
Yeah, possibly if they have their drive on high and they're giving off light. In fact, I think I have seen one. Went out with Ed Grimsley's Skywatch using advanced night vision.
Really?
Wow.
He flashed a laser at one and it flashed back.
We've seen a flashback before
No.
when we did
Yeah.
Lorien's Skywatch tour, and it was stationary in the sky. I mean, it's in the documentary, but we didn't really go into too much detail. But it stayed there for, the whole night was in one part of the sky and would just blink at us, and we would, shoot point lasers at it, and it was wild. I still don't know what that was.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience to, obviously seeing things and then put it on the night vision. You're like, whoa, wow, that's crazy. All that stuff is up there, shining lasers at it. But the ones that get me, dude, are the ones that she would just talk to, and they just interact.
Yeah, they communicate mostly telepathically. They're
so
monitoring you the whole time that you're watching them.
Yeah. So
I have reason to believe they are.
Do you notice any difference with contact? Like if you do remove an implant, do they end up having less, or do they get more agitated and come back more?
Not usually. Usually the aliens get kind of angry or put out and put another one in, or they'll just ramp up the experiences, but it never stops as a result. At least I've never seen that.
So it would almost be better to just leave it in there and just keep going on with your day.
We need to do more research on these things while they're in the body and try to decode some of their signals. But they're only transmitting about 5 or 10% of the time, from what I've seen. Dr. Lear and I answered that question pretty definitively by checking a couple of patients for radio signals, and they're usually not transmitting, but sometimes they are. And it seemed to be correlated with the patient or subject thinking about UFOs or talking about UFOs or going on podcasts or TV shows or things like that.
Dude, I believe that. Yeah. It makes me think of the, there's all this talk about sonic weapons. And Eric, you're kind of mixed in this with your ability, the frequencies that whatever's going on in your head. But then now we're hearing about Havana Syndrome a lot more, and frequencies, and how the Venezuela, recently when they
they went in there,
basically invaded, and they were, the soldiers, the Venezuelan soldiers, were hit with this sonic weapon, and every one of them was like, we were just immobilized,
started
just
bleeding
like
from our eyes, and
got ill, started throwing up.
Yeah,
just like in Eric's experience, where
it's an ELF weapon, extremely low frequency.
Yeah,
frequencies of sound that are multiples of 3 hertz, 3 cycles per second, are harmful. Like 3 hertz, 6 hertz, 9 hertz. The only reason they're not more harmful in everyday life is they're hard to generate. You need a very large tube or horn to generate those sounds.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I heard about the Venezuela thing, where it was like, whoa, they got hit by this, and then they were kind of just like...
They were describing exactly what Eric describes.
Exactly what he describes when he got, in your parking lot. And that was interesting, because they were like, it was just like this wave, like magnet type feeling. It was just heavy, and we couldn't move, and just everything. Our eyes started, I don't know if your eyes bleed or not, but theirs were...
No, I wear glasses because they were burnt,
right?
The glasses, I don't remember that detail.
Well, I heard of a case in the 50s back east where a large industrial chimney had wind blowing over it in such a way as to generate like 3 hertz sound, and a lot of people got sick around there.
Whoa. That's wild.
But it takes a very large sound antenna, horn, whatever you want to call it, to generate those sounds.
Very interesting.
That's crazy.
They're long wave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have
need a big speaker cone.
Mm-hmm. I have seen. It was Travis Walton's girlfriend at the time. My roommate. Did you just bleep out Travis Walton? But my roommate, Audrey Hewins. We were uncovering, some names at the Pentagon, and trying to follow this cover up and who was in charge of, keeping these secrets. And because there was a couple of names in my case already from the DOD, We just had to trace who, they worked with and all that stuff. So I was actually going to work, and Audrey was just obsessed, trying to find, she had a new beat on things, and, another puzzle piece can lead you down another rabbit hole. And she was coming up with name after name, the Aquarius group, the aviary group, and weird things started happening. Weird stuff. People would show up to check our lines, and they don't have IDs. They would check our cables with no IDs.
They're bugging your room.
Yeah, it turned out to be exactly right.
Yeah.
But one day I'm sitting in a chair watching TV, and she's on the couch watching TV, and all of a sudden she goes, ow, 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 and her legs start moving, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? I thought maybe a cat had snagged the back of her hair or something like that. And when I looked at her, if you guys have ever seen like the time lapse of a flower blooming, it takes many, many days for that to happen. But if you speed it up, you can see it within seconds.
Kind of like jerks.
Yeah, this was like a full-on sunburn on all of her skin within 15 seconds. She turned bright red, pink, then bright red, and then darker red and almost purple. And it started peeling like around the loose skin around her eyes first, and then on her face and her arms and hands. And it was in real time. And I was in such shock, like, what did you do? And half the night we talked about she changed her laundry soap and, just what normal people would do.
That sounds like a microwave weapon to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've done a lot of research, to find out what happened to Audrey, because later on she ended up with brain damage, permanent brain damage.
Wow.
And nobody knows what happened to her. The doctors can't explain anything. They think it might have been psychological, and they're not sure. She was catatonic in a hospital for 8 months before she started speaking.
So is there a difference in like the sunburn effect and then the iron being pulled to the top of like your skin, like turning your skin red?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like, yeah, we turn red because I guess like the magnetic field or whatever
Right.
pulls the iron in the blood closer to the surface.
Yeah,
So
when
you
you're
turn
around
red.
a craft, that's what happens to your blood. And it does turn red, but the skin cells kind of hang on for a long time before they start dying off. So that's the two major differences of those two things. If you're around a strong electromagnetic field that's pulling on the iron in your blood, it's going to irritate the skin and all that stuff, and it'll start to, just kind of flake off. But hers was like a sunburn. It was just peeling all over her face in an just immediate situation. It's like you're watching something that was edited but in real time, and it bothers your mind looking at it because it's like, how is it doing it that fast?
Yeah.
I'll never forget it, but
Well, microwave weapons can cause brain damage, and it's pretty fast, I think.
yeah.
Like
I
she
literally-
wasn't roasted.
Just saw us. There's a 60 Minutes special on Havana Syndrome that's like recent, and there's foreign diplomats, U.S. based, in other countries that would be stationed in Europe or France, and their whole family would move over to these countries, and they just continuously, after like the first week or so, they would start to feel sick, and it would always be when they would be laying in bed, only in that spot, and they would wake up just feeling terrible and terrible, and for like this would go on for a couple of weeks, and doctors didn't know what was going on, and this is not just one family, this is multiple families talking about this in the 60 Minutes thing, and all of the symptoms are exactly what you described, Eric.
That's the thing, and the CIA were, they tasked Dr. Gary Nolan to look at this, and what Dr. Gary Nolan, because he's also an experiencer, he's like, crap, I'm finding my people in here too, and he's a scientist, but first and foremost, he's a man that's got to pay his own bills. So he's going to go with the people with the money to study the Havana Syndrome that comes from these human-made weapons, human-made. Now the other ones, he wasn't quite sure what to do with that, So here I come in at the time. I'm emailing Dr. Gary Nolan, talking, about my savant syndrome, the changes I was going through, all these little, details about what's going on with me. And the guy's incredibly busy at the time. Now Hal Puthoff walks into his office, so now he's got the CIA walking in on him. He thinks it's a joke, right? He thinks, oh, where's the candid camera? But it was actually happening. And at the time, my lead investigator, he was teaching me, he's like, if you want to play with the big boys, you got to make sure there's no counterintelligence around or anything like that. So I kind of recede and get with Harvard University and start talking to them. It was a neurology department. So instead of, Gary Nolan throwing experiencers into this big confusing mix, he saw where we could just get bumped off the charts again and disappear into the darkness, which we're never going to do again. And so when he talks about his little Harvard side project, he's talking about the project that I've been involved in for over 10 years now, where they're forgetting about Havana Syndrome and we're focusing on the quintessential medical experiencer's brain. And it's just amazing activity within these functions, particularly the motor function. But we're finding out as of recent that there is a random nucleotide polymorphism within the epigenetic DNA.
I know all those words, dude.
Yeah, I can
smart.
spell one of them. But it's a sleeping gene that usually wakes up during trauma. And this trauma and this gene kind of pumps all these peptides and proteins into your motor function. That's what it's built for. So your motor function goes to 50,000 neurons to 100 billion. And they call it the brain within the brain because your whole entire brain has 100 billion neurons. Now, the cool part is Psionics, where we learn to meditate and do weird stuff with our minds. What we're actually doing, and I have to give it away, is that we have our everyday executive function. All the time, everyday executive function. Am I boring you guys?
No, dude, I'm just.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
know
we've
this
been
stuff.
traveling all day long.
Yeah. But anyway,
But
you've
no.
got your normal everyday executive function, but if you have this particular brain, what you're able to do is disassociate while still associating. So your frontal cortex and you go into like a dreamlike state. Yes, you do.
Who, me?
Yeah, who you. So I've seen her do it so many times, and she'll slip into it, and sometimes
Tell us about it.
yeah, sometimes not remember like everything she did or said, but the information she gives across is just incredible. It's like, what did you just do, Heidi? And she says that to me. But that's what you're doing. It's funny that you're associating and disassociating at the same time. So you're pulling your motor function into a co-pilot situation, living in two worlds at the same time.
That seemed like slipping into the alternate personality that the aliens have for you that is responsible for you not remembering. I mean,
It's
it's like the
possibility.
movie. What I've uncovered under regression is that the reason you don't remember is because these abductions is because you have two personalities, one of which that they've created for you, and the memories of the abductions are on the alternate personality. And they sometimes cross-communicate through dreams or the subconscious, but you can't recall everything, but the memories are still there. They don't want to erase your memory totally because they want you to be have your memory intact about what you did with them previously. So
I've never heard that. That's amazing.
It's always like, for me, it's like flat. Like I have flashes.
That's what it looks like.
And
in the
then
medical
people,
data.
and then people will be like, "Dude, how did you?"
So that's
So
what
if you
Whatever.
suddenly,
we
if you
did-
suddenly start spouting alien information, it's because you've slipped into that state, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a lot like me. She'll just approach a person and then switch and know everything about them, how to fix them, what you're supposed to do, and I don't know, kind of like somebody I know. I don't,
Yeah. Hello, Barbara.
Thinking like a lot of us have that ability.
Yeah.
It's there, and we just need to work with it and not be afraid of it. And just, I started back in 1989 with the near-death experience, and in that NDE, all my psychic abilities turned on, and I had to learn how to work with them and how to play with them and how to use them. And we all have that. And it's not something to be afraid of, but it's something to embrace. It's our lineage. And then we all speak. We're all speaking in this room without saying anything. And most of the talking in this conversation is telepathic, because when we talk with our voices, it's so slow. And so when we meet people, we know them, we connect, and we say 1,000 words. It's like fine art. I've always said that. Like, you sit there and it's like fine art, and we're all in this together. And I think it's where we're going, and where we don't have to even speak. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Like music and art and dance. It tells you so many things so fast. And we're so connected with this telepathy, where the speaking is so slow sometimes. So.
Yeah. So that's the key then to the psionics is,
Gotta be vibing.
You got to be kind of in the zone, little meditation. I don't know if you guys have seen our episode, but we tried psionicking, and dude, we just got Wendy's, and like we waited for a little bit, so we did it wrong.
Yeah,
we got to try again.
Your technique was almost perfect, but not quite on the spot.
We took our shirts off and everything.
Oh, you took your shirts off too?
We had our shirts off. We were chilling in the day. We were eating Wendy's.
Play the clip.
Although this isn't a bad gig, I don't know if I could listen to this for hours at a time.
I don't think so either.
I don't know. I think we're just chilling.
All right, let's try to sunbathe for a little bit. Let's catch a tan, dog.
But if our
Wait,
eyes
should we
are...
pop our tops off?
So is psionicking the same thing as C3ing or C5ing?
I don't know. I think it's a mix, dude. We're just making it up.
We're just making up our own thing.
We got this tone blasting,
Dude.
and we're just making up some shit. See what happens.
Because, like, what if Skywatchers, like, what if their thing is like, well, we usually bring Wendy's with us as an offering.
Are you saying you want to go get Wendy's?
No.
And we look freaking cool.
We had that, yeah.
Something's wrong, because you should have seen something, or at least levitated a car.
We messed up on the frequency. We chose 420 because you could hear it, and it was funny.
Well, we tried a couple of them.
We tried a few frequencies, but I brought out our big PA speaker.
Tower and PA.
Yeah.
You did have the fries, right?
Yeah, we had the fries.
Okay.
We even had dipping sauce and everything.
Did all the steps.
I don't think you
This
did
is-
anything
this
wrong
is-
whatsoever.
Yeah, this is no joke.
Is something wrong with your sky?
Maybe the sky was wrong.
Probably the sky.
Probably the sky, but yeah,
thinking the sky.
that's
It's a conspiracy.
that's.
It's the chemtrails. It wasn't the Wendy's.
But I definitely agree with you. The idea of like, entering a room and you said 1,000,000 words before you even said hello. That connection that you have with people, that initial connection. Yeah, and then with your with your NDE and stuff, is that what triggers the polymorphic Scooby Dooby? Is like a traumatic experience?
A lot.
One of the things I would say.
Yeah, not all, and I can't say all, but a lot of the experiences I've worked with in over 130 different countries now have had an NDA. I've had one, but there's also a good large percentage that hasn't. Who's to say they didn't stop breathing in their sleep and they don't remember they almost died?
Right.
But it could be sleep apnea people, stuff like that. I mean, it just takes a lot of research and a lot of going back and forth with people that are way smarter than me to try to figure it out. But what the science looks at right now is that your executive function is able to reach back and pull in the Hulk and work together at the same time. And if you're able to walk that balance, there's no telling what you're actually going to be. And there's also where you reach into multiples within the mind while you're an executor at the same time, where you reach, ZPC, 0 point consciousness. And that's what people call like the Akashic records and things of that nature, where you don't exist, you're well aware of it, and you're being more aware of all existence throughout time, space, everything. So if you want to know a question, an answer, anything you want to know, you can retrieve it through an emotional aspect and then transfer that emotional aspect into analytical thinking to explain it to yourself.
The vast majority of telepathy is nonverbal too. You just know what the person's trying to say without words. and it probably is a lot faster than verbal communication.
I'm saying a lot of that without saying anything right now. It's like if we're going to be a galactic being, right? We're going to be out there in space. We're going to be in our ships, and we're going to be talking to the other whoever's out there. We're going to have to be on it, and we're quick and it's telepathic, and that's who we are. We just forgot. We just have to remember. We're tuned up for this. We're made for this.
Well, it's not only faster; it also has technical advantages too, because there's strong reason to believe that telepathy travels much faster than light.
Yes.
Over
Communicate
300
from
times.
here to the other end of the galaxy in maybe a few seconds or less with telepathy, and that's why the aliens use it to communicate so much.
Yeah,
That's so cool. I
a big part of the reason.
I feel like I've always thought that, but I've never heard it said out loud. Yeah, telepathy moves faster than light.
It does.
That's
It
very
very
And
well.
we're it, and it's
Consciousness.
us, and we're connected.
Yeah, there's something called
Byway.
scalar electromagnetic waves, and they're different than the transverse electromagnetic waves that are talked about in the physics textbooks, and they have a different structure. And transverse EM waves are caused by interference of scalar waves. So scalar waves are a more fundamental form of electromagnetic radiation than transverse waves, and scalar waves can travel much faster than light. They have an arbitrary velocity, and the ones with the longer wavelengths travel the fastest. So I have reason to believe that telepathy is mediated by ELF, or very long wavelength scalar waves.
Yeah, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, he was the Apollo 14 Six Men on the Moon, worked with, I think it was Hal Puthoff.
He did telepathy from space, I believe.
Yeah, and they proved that his consciousness was at least 300 times faster than light itself.
wow.
It's probably a lot faster than that, but yeah, at least 300 times faster than light, they said, I believe. Yeah.
So I'm just throwing something against the wall here. I'm just kind of connecting some dots. Telepathy being faster than light. Obviously, the craft, some people say it interfaces with their mind.
Most alien equipment is thought controlled, yeah.
Thinking of a spot,
Yeah.
going there, makes sense why it would be faster than light, because it's not whatever you would think it is. It's the mind, right? It's kind of like that telepathy, that thought. And so it's acting faster than light, which is like why they can go there to there. And it,
In my experience, they're using an electromagnetic field that's related to consciousness in order to do that. That's why psionics are able to take control of craft and move it around a little bit, you know. So, I mean, that's... and we're not too far from that. And next, we're going to have an AI bot with our phone that's going to be predictive about our behavior and what we like to do and give us suggestions and all that stuff.
I think the government's had thought-controlled
absolutely.
planes and weapon systems for
But
some
the
time.
next step for civilians is that we're going to walk in, buy our cell phone, go into the back room where you have a big screen TV, and you're going to have an EEG machine on your head. And it's going to give you a bunch of images to look at and watches your brain response through the electromagnetic field. And it becomes a signature frequency of your thought process when you look at particular objects. So now when you're thinking about things in the grocery store or whatever you're doing, it's going to relay that information to your phone because it's going to be reading your electromagnetic blueprint of your thought process, and it programs right into your phone. So you're thinking, my wife just spilled some red wine on the carpet. Automatically,
Fabuloso.
yeah, automatically your phone knows that you're off on Thursdays. You usually nap between 12 and 2, and 3 o'clock is a great time to have a carpet cleaner come over and pencils everything in for you and takes care of it just through thought actuation. And
it sounds like a time that you want to start maybe moving out to the woods.
Do you
That's where I
think that
live.
seems archaic in a way, though? Does that seem archaic from an alien perspective, though, of who we really are?
No, that's the technology that...
Maybe from their perspective, but from our perspective, that's
Yeah.
like, whoa.
No, it's going to be within 5-10 years. We're going to be able to buy a cell phone that literally reads your mind.
But half we don't even need a cell phone. We're already there.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, there's people that are building brain chips so you can interact with computers, but at the same time, we're already biologically capable of doing so
Yes,
much
we
more.
are. Yes, we
It
are.
also begs the question.
I don't think you need to implant a chip for that with
No.
the right technology.
No.
So, like, it was a couple of weeks ago, the three of us were out in the desert, Steve, Barbara, and I, and remember I was like, whoop, oh, there's one up there, and then we were shouting power up.
Right.
So is it us making it power up, or are they hearing us and making it
They're
power
hearing
up?
us and
I think
making it power up.
it's a connection, and the more we work with it, the stronger it gets. Just like a good relationship, right?
Right.
You work with it, and they're ready. We're ready, and let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's have this.
In the very
We've been
beginning-
ready.
In the very beginning, it is a subtlety, and you question yourself. It's like, why am I having those thoughts? Did I actually just feel
Yeah.
that? All the way into, leave me alone. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and
Right.
I'm trying to go to sleep.
But then you learn to trust it. Like, but I think it all begins with learning to trust yourself. So it starts with yourself and trusting yourself and knowing yourself and loving yourself and seeing how incredible we are. We're pretty amazing, and we're locked into all that is, all that was, all that will be. And we're part of that. And so it's like taking that and working with that. We can go far and fast like that. And that's all I have to say. No.
I love that. You're just making me think of
These are great
like
words.
this thought that I've been thinking about for a while is like the lights that we see or maybe even craft. Does it necessarily mean that there's gray entities or mantis entities inside of them, or can they just be light?
Oh,
they're like
some are unmanned for sure.
Yeah.
Usually small ones though. They have an entire network of basketball-sized and smaller orbs that form a surveillance network around the planet, and those are the craft that make most of the crop circles.
I've in meditation, I just call them fast movers because you can't see them with the naked eye. They go way too fast.
Yeah, they're about that big.
Yeah.
And I actually analyzed a piece of one that Jaime Masan provided, and they're made out of a tough titanium alloy that's reinforced with carbon nanotubes, and the carbon nanotubes probably act as the electronics and propulsion of the device, built right into the metal. And it had
That sounds so cool.
a regular network of half millimeter size voids built into the metal to lower the density. So it's incredibly strong stuff, and has about the density of aluminum rather than titanium. Titanium's already about 2/3 the density of steel and just as strong, but this stuff was way stronger and the density of aluminum. Wow. And the brilliant part of it is that if one of them crashes, like this one did in about 100 miles south of Brownsville, Texas,
Different.
and it's damaged, then people will find it and think it's just a hollow titanium sphere and not a craft.
Talking about the
Very
ball.
interesting.
They thought it might have been a ball bearing at some point. The one that they found in Texas a while back. Or-
Ball bearing?
Yes, that was one of the
You mean
things.
the
It was
bed
like a
sphere, or-
ball bearing. I'm not saying that that's what it was.
You
but
mean that one was about that big and shiny?
It was about the size of a basketball, and it would roll around on the floor.
Maybe we're talking about the same thing. This one crashed about 100 miles south of Brownsville, Texas, on the east coast of Mexico, and there was apparently a very strong electromagnetic field around the orb, and when it collapsed when it crashed, it produced an explosion that killed a cow 100 meters away.
Wow.
See, I want to know who built that, what built that. Like, are they from a different star system or a different dimension, or have they been here way
Well,
before?
they told me, who knows, but I mean, they're not above stretching the truth, but they told me that they're an alliance of like 7 different similar species that come from planets within 100 light years of here. So
Very interesting.
that's what I remember him saying.
Very interesting.
Take a quick break.
Yeah, let's do it. Y'all want to take a break?
That's fine.
Break.
Break. And we're back.
And we're back. We had to take a little break. We had to get rid of some of the 211s in our systems, right? And wonderful Steve and Barbara, they
were abducted.
They were abducted, so they're not here right now. I had to get back to the hotel. These guys have like a super busy, have had a super busy weekend. So, but we're gonna kind of finish up. What are you guys working on?
So Eric and I have started an independent social media for experiencers, and every experiencer that's in there is like vetted. Like, you're not, you know how like if you're on like name any other social media, there's always some a-hole in there that's trolling you and like you're full of shit and da-da-da. Zero, none of that. No drama, no nothing. And we've got like a topic library where if you want to like deep dive into this particular subject, like that's where people post their stuff, missing time, orbs, consciousness,
shadow people.
Like,
I mean, yeah,
everything that goes with the high strangeness phenomenon.
Yeah, if you're
and
curious,
it's still adding it.
If you're curious about one particular subject instead of the whole rainbow, you can just jump into that particular feed. So if someone just sees an orb and just wants to read into that, and all of a sudden they're seeing other things, they can go in and see what everybody else is having to say about it, and the sub feeds and the sub feeds, and so it kind of helps people realize they're not alone in what they're dealing with, and that's the most important part. It's just the isolation aspect of I'm a crazy person, I'm alone in this. I've worked with people all over the world, 130 different countries, so I know how rampant this really is. And I can't spend the rest of my life every single day trying to find time to pee, feed myself, and sleep, and still be behind that far. So
and there's people in there already from all over planet Earth. Like, this is not an isolated U.S. phenomenon.
No, we've got Australia, we've got Sweden, we've got Belgium, we've got
Japan.
The Japanese. Yeah. Shout out to Kay.
What up?
But she's an interpreter. So it just saves my life. I was talking to Chinese, or Japanese Parliament, because he's an experiencer, and really wanted to know what the implication was, socially and sociologically on their culture, what disclosure would mean, so we had long conversations about that. But yeah, it's people from all walks of life, and
we do live group meetings through video on Zoom. There's instant messaging in there. It's like all the same things you would have from any other social media, but this one is just for experiencers alone.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool. What's it going to be called?
It's called Experiencers Meet.
Okay. Awesome.
Basic and to the point. I started a support group back in 2013 when it was happening to me. Mm-hmm. So I used Facebook and other apertures to kind of talk to groups, because one person at a time was taking up my whole day.
Right.
So it just got to the point where we could, talk to a lot of people at once and take on the questions and stuff like that. And now it's to the point where we've got to do an independent social media, because that is too big.
Well, and now we can all lean on each other. Like, there's everybody who experiences this stuff has, all different levels of it.
Right.
And so I've made a bunch more friends. Other people are making friends.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really good idea, because like I was talking to you about, like you see so many people that are actively searching. Like, I want some answers. Maybe somebody to just talk to, need some help, and they're scared to go to the Facebook groups or on Twitter or anything like that. Like, and that's
don't go to Twitter.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't go to X. Right? Like, it's just
I love how we're all still calling it Twitter.
Yeah. And dude, that's completely understandable. But like the idea of having like this is its own separate thing. You're gonna be vetted. Like, we're gonna know who's in here. Like, it's dude. Like, it's your online gated community, and you can really open up, right? Like the Facebook groups and stuff are great, but you even find there, like when I've seen sometimes where people are like pouring their heart out, and then somebody comes behind them and is just like flies on shit, man.
Yeah.
Like they're
we
just
don't do that.
and
Yeah.
it's disgusting, and you're like, you just ruin that person for a long time, if not
very
forever.
true. It's very true. I mean, you get to the point where you have enough strength to hear yourself voice it out loud to someone else, and you immediately feel shame. You immediately, just feel like that crazy person. And, when support flows through instead of hate and attack, this person gets a chance to grow. And, what's astonished me over the years is how many there actually are. I mean, judges, doctors, lawyers, famous singers, famous actors, like, the people that, hold our communities and countries together, politicians, some of our, Congress members. How cool is that? That will not stop. They'll keep pushing just like I do, just like Heidi does. And it's one of the things that, come up a lot that is really shocking is I want to tell my spouse. And it's like, what? You can't even tell your spouse, Like,
That's just sad.
it is sad, but think about it. You go on the first date, you hold the fart in the entire time. All right?
Yep.
You just the entire time you're holding that fart in. You might even get some hot sweats. 2 years later, you're married and you got streaked up tighty whities on the floor going, babe, can you do some laundry, please? So things, kind of change. But, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of marriage, it's like, I'm going to do it this year. That's how hidden we are from the rest of the world. We are chameleons. We hide these symptoms. We try to hide these little psychic moments with jokes and, all these things that are about us. We don't fit into a everyday, normal, fraudulent society. There's a lot less BS involved when it comes to us. So if aerospace corporations, Adolf Hitler, NASA, and, all these sheiks and powerful people use experiencers for their gifts, why don't we just kind of turn away from that and give it to our society and be allowed to be ourselves in public and not have to hide who we are anymore? It's not like it's a bad thing. We're empathic. We're incredibly good looking. I don't know if you noticed that.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot to gain from having an experiencer friend. Your friend Mace, he's like, I can't find my car keys. So, I come out of meditation and I'm saying, well, it's under a green towel. And you're saying, well, no, it's on a couch. So here, her and I are disagreeing. He walks over to the couch, picks up a green towel, and the keys are right underneath.
Well, the ottoman was green.
Not advertising that we're going to help you find your keys. We are not Pop-A-Lock. We prefer to, help bigger things.
You could get a
out,
little
but-
fob for your keys.
Talk
I got
about-
one. It sings you a song.
Yeah.
Talk about an untapped market, though.
Yeah.
You know what
A
I'm saying?
hotline to find your lost item.
You've got these, I guess for lack of a better word, these pretty intense abilities. I guess I don't know what would you call that? An ability? What would you call it?
I would call it human evolution.
An awakening. Well, I've seen you do some strange things to people. Nothing bad. It's always
Eric.
It always seems to be like they'll be crying and like, oh, I just feel 1,000 pounds lighter type of like relief type thing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I've seen you do that to a couple people. And then just your, obviously the head thing. We've seen the head thing. There's a few things, even just like peering into people's souls, it seems like from time to time. And it always reminds me of like Men in Black when he's like, "You flashy thing me." And I've always been curious because I've never asked you. You ever peered into our souls before? You ever
No.
flashy thinged us?
No, I've never flashy thinged you.
Okay.
I've thought about flashing you, but
Oh, we know that.
that was just,
We know
'cause-
that.
Right, now who's got telepathy?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was always curious.
Honestly, no.
Because we've had some eye contact before sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he doing it right now? I don't know if he's doing it right now.
Well,
and then maybe
when
and
you're
then maybe-
hiding pain, because I care about you, and when you're hiding pain from me, I feel it, and then I want to start to look a little bit, but then I kind of divert because that's too evasive. It's rude. There's a lot of ethics involved in this, and that's
Absolutely.
why
that's where I wanted to go with this.
Yeah,
is
and
the
that's why
ethics.
we're based on empathy alone. You know, if you ask the neurologists that are studying experiencers' mind, what is the first thing that pops up? And it's the empathetic nature. You know, we're not running around like evil Jedis, you know. Use a few times, but we're, you know, there's never evil intent. You know, we might break into a conference. You know, for
one that
instance.
supposedly is the most secure conference ever.
Yeah, they had a big.
I was gonna. So we are out of time here, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of close things down with the show. But y'all, thank you so much, Eric, Heidi.
Dude,
thank you so much for
it's
being
like
here and just
Your
hanging
life
out.
is so crazy, dude. Like, it's almost like somebody should make a movie about it. You know what I'm saying?
It's
like-
it's like living a movie.
They would probably call it Experiencer, and you'd probably be able to find it on Vimeo right now while we're still handling distribution stuff.
Yep.
But if
I'd
you want
watch it.
behind the scenes things, man, you guys want to know more about Eric, his story, go check it out, man. It's Experiencer. It's on Vimeo. You can come check us out, UFO Garage. It's all over our pages. I mean, definitely go see it. We're still just, every time we talk to Eric, it's like just tip of the iceberg. Like, we'll never get further than that. But check it out. And you guys also have the website that's coming out. Let everybody know what that's going to
So
be.
if you guys are interested in being part of our independent social media network for experiencers, you can email experiencer1111@gmail, and we'll tell you how to get there.
Perfect.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank y'all so much for hanging out. Always amazing to see you guys.
Always
it's a
to
great
hang out
night.
with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We appreciate it so much. Y'all don't even know, just being able to make this stuff happen, and for y'all to just take your time to talk to us. You know, that's the biggest thing. It's just like so cool to have you guys just give
Thanks
us your
for having
time.
us.
It's the most valuable. So, all right. Well, hey guys, it's been another episode of UFO Garage. We'll see you next time.
Dudes, one garage. Dr. Scientist in charge. We smart. We party hard. Got aliens.
You like it? Chorizo? Chorizo, potato, chicken, whatever. You like it, amigos? Okay? I got it. 1 second.